I would very much rather be anything, say, Professor of History, than Vice President of the United States. In 1898, after a grand campaign against the Spanish in Cuba, I returned to New York and was approached by Thomas Platt, one of the Republican Party bosses of New York. And after being persuaded to be the Republican nominee for governor of New York, and after a vigorous campaign to be chosen the governor of New York, and after being duly elected by the people to be governor of New York, I entered into Albany in 1899 as governor of New York. And very quickly, there were certain members of the Republican machinery that determined to make me former governor of New York as quickly as possible. After all, unlike previous governors, I would not simply bow down to whatever the machinery told me to do. I told them that I would listen to their advice regarding nominations, for example. But I never told them that I would blindly follow whatever they said. And once they determined that they could not control me, and that I was determined to run my administration my own way, they looked for every opportunity to get rid of me. And in 1900, when President McKinley was campaigning for re-election, and after Vice President Hobart had died the year before, they saw their opportunity to, as they put it, kick me upstairs. There was the slightest difficulty, of course, that I did not want to be vice president, but no one seemed deterred by that particular notion. In truth, I was persuaded by certain members of the Republican Party that if I was not on the ticket as vice president, there were certain voters in the West who would not vote for McKinley, and they would choose the Democratic alternative, William Jennings Bryan. And no one wanted William Jennings Bryan. I dare say not even William Jennings Bryan. But after a very encouraging nomination as Vice President for the Republican Party, I vigorously campaigned for McKinley's re-election, while McKinley stayed on the porch, as was the custom of the time. Presidents would speak at their own home or at the porch of the president's mansion, and as vice president, I went out on the campaign trail, and I took some of my Rough Riders with me, and with trumpets blaring and horses riding, it was a bully good time. And McKinley, as a very popular president, was very easily swept back into office. And I entered into the utterly anomalous office of the vice presidency. And I dare say that I enjoyed being the vice president. For about 1 week, during the first session of the Senate, I enjoyed presiding over it. But I very quickly began to realize that the vice presidency was not well suited to my character, or my interest in actually doing anything. No, I very much feared that the vice presidency would be a stepping stone to oblivion. But the vice presidency was not to be the end of my career. It would later turn out that there would be other means for me to serve my country, which I gladly did, under the difficult circumstances of losing McKinley. But it was my pleasure to serve the people and step again into the arena.